Am I the asshole for bringing my service dog to a family dinner? I am 18 and I have autism. I have had my fully trained service dog, Juniper, since I was 16. She helps me manage sensory overload, keeps me grounded, and keeps me anchored when I am out in public, since I have a tendency to wander when I am not with my support worker. She is not a pet in those situations. She is task-trained, always leashed, and always wears her vest. She does not beg, wander, or interact with people unless it is part of her work. Most of the time, she just stays quietly beside me or under a table. Last weekend, I went to a family dinner for my aunt's birthday. I struggle being out in public because of my disability, so before attending, I gave everyone a heads up that Juniper would be with me. I explained she would stay under the table and asked that nobody pet her or feed her. Everyone agreed and said it was fine, so I felt reassured going in. For the first part of dinner, everything was okay. It was a bit busy but manageable. About halfway through, things got much louder. My younger cousin was being noisy, dishes were clattering, people were talking over each other, chairs were scraping, a lot of overlapping sounds and movement all at once. I could feel myself getting overwhelmed very quickly. Juniper noticed before I even fully processed it myself, and began doing the tasks she is trained to do. Because of her, I was able to calm down enough to stay at the table and get through the rest of the meal without having a shutdown or needing to leave. From my perspective, she was completely unobtrusive and had just quietly done her job. After dinner, my aunt pulled me aside and told me I was being self-centered because Juniper was making the night about me. She said people were looking at us and that I should have taken the dog outside instead of making it everyone else's problem. That caught me completely off guard, and I felt embarrassed and ashamed. So I apologized, even though I did not fully understand what I had done wrong. Later, my mom told me I should not have made a scene, and suggested I should have stepped out sooner, so nobody would feel uncomfortable. That made me feel even worse, because I genuinely try very hard not to draw attention to myself when we are out in public. From my point of view, I did not make a scene. I stayed seated, Juniper stayed under the table, and I managed my overwhelm quietly because of her. I do not like the idea that I made people uncomfortable or caused tension at what was supposed to be a nice family event. But at the same time, Juniper did exactly what she is trained to do, and she helped me stay instead of having to leave or shut down entirely. To explain what Juniper does when she notices I am overstimulated, she puts her head in my lap so I can focus on the feeling of her instead of everything happening around me, which helps most of the time. When I walk around in public, I also usually wear noise-canceling earmuffs to reduce stimulation, but my mom says it is rude to wear them out to dinner. Am I the asshole? A dog that helps you stay is never the problem. The next story is about parents who took first-class trips to Hawaii, Peru, and China, while their son dropped out of college and donated plasma just to survive. Am I the asshole for exposing my parents and saying my girlfriend's family is more of a family to me than they are? I am 21, and I have had a very rough few years with my parents, who are 62 and 71, due to financial situations that came to a head when my three sisters, two who are 30 and one who is 40, finally learned what had been happening. For context, my parents have essentially cut me off financially for the past 3 years. My dental coverage ended entirely, and I was dropped to the lowest tier of medical and car insurance, while still being responsible for all the payments myself. I also had to drop out of university and enroll in my state's community college because I had no financial support. My so-called college fund was $200 my mom pulled out of my account and placed into a high-yield savings account that grew by about $70. I now live with my girlfriend, who is 20, and her family. This has caused tension with my parents because, while all of this was happening, they retired when I was 16, partially because one of them simply did not want to work anymore, and have since taken multiple first-class trips to Hawaii, Peru, and China, while telling me they are unable to help. Their exact words were, "It is their turn now." Recently at a family gathering, my sisters asked how university was going. I reminded them I had dropped out and that community college was fine, but difficult since I also work full-time. This confused my oldest sister, who asked my parents why they had not helped. My parents dodged the question and claimed they were on a tight budget. I tried to smooth it over by saying my sisters did not get a college fund either, so it was not really new. But it was new. My parents had matched whatever money my two sisters saved for college. My oldest sister had received help from her father. My parents had never told my sisters about this, and my sisters had never thought to ask, assuming I was receiving similar support. After learning this, I got carried away. I started telling my sisters everything, dropping out, donating plasma regularly, trying to join the military, working full-time for the past 2 years. I then brought up my girlfriend's family and how they had actually set up a place for us to live, while my parents had done nothing except give me the phone number of a real estate agent friend so she could get, quote, experience. This left my sisters upset with my parents, and my parents upset with me for painting them as the villains. They have since offered to pay off my car or help with a home loan, but I have refused everything out of spite. The rest of my family says I was wrong for airing out dirty laundry and causing unnecessary drama. My girlfriend supports me, but has said she did not love me bringing her family into it, because now my parents are even more against her. Am I the asshole, or was I valid in telling my sisters what had actually been happening to me? The next one is about a mother-in-law who walked out of her daughter-in-law's house with a dish rack because she decided it was not being used enough. Am I the asshole for asking my husband to ban his mother from our house unless she is supervised? My mother-in-law has a long history of crossing boundaries in my home. She opens my mail and packages when I am not there, rearranges my garage without asking, and moves around my makeup, skincare products, and kitchen items whenever she visits. She usually does these things when I am not home. My own parents have never done anything like this, and we have never set any expectation that family members can just do whatever they want in our house. Last Christmas, my husband gave her money to take our 2 young sons shopping so they could pick out gifts for us. She helped my youngest son choose a dish drying rack and drying mat for me as a gift. It was paid for with my husband's money and given to me from my son. For comparison, the actual gift she personally gave me that year was an old bag of potpourri and a lip balm. Recently, she was at our house watching the kids while I was at work, and my husband was out. When I got home, I noticed things in the pantry had been moved around. Then I realized the dish drying rack and mat were gone. I had seen them that same morning, so I knew they had been there. I asked my kids and my husband if either of them had moved it. Nobody knew anything. At that point, I was fairly certain it was my mother-in-law, because she has taken gifts back from people before. My husband texted her and asked directly if she had taken it. She admitted she had, saying we did not use it enough, so she took it with her. I was stunned. To me, this is stealing from my own house, because she decided I did not deserve to keep my own property. My husband thinks I should let it go and sweep it under the rug. I told him this was a serious boundary issue, and I no longer trust her alone in our home. I asked that she not be left unsupervised in our house going forward. My husband thinks what she did was not stealing, and that I am making too big a deal of it. Am I the asshole? The next one is about a daughter who is exhausted, a mom who cannot be left unattended, and a graduation that became a battlefield. Am I the asshole for not taking my incontinent mom to my daughter's college graduation and deciding not to go myself? My daughter is 29 and will be receiving her master's degree soon. She assumed I would bring my mom to the graduation ceremony. She only has 5 tickets and wants me, who am 54, my mom who is 87, her dad, her stepmother, and her half-sister to attend. I told my daughter I did not want to push my mom in her wheelchair across the entire campus, over hills, for what could be a very long distance. It is simply too much. So she called my son, who is attending in the overflow room, and asked him to drive my mom and push the wheelchair to the building. She then wanted me to take over and push my mom to the actual graduation floor. The main responsibility for my mom's care has fallen on me for years, and I am genuinely tired. I am tired of taking her to every family graduation, every funeral, every party and event, spending those events waiting on her instead of being present and enjoying the family. When I do take her, she bosses me around, treats me like her personal servant, and guilts me into doing things I do not want to do. She is also incontinent. If she spends several hours away from home, she often wets herself to the point where it soaks through her diapers, and she either cannot smell it or is not aware of it until I tell her. I did manage to get my siblings to start sharing some responsibility this past year. They now take turns, taking her out every other weekend, but I am still expected to bring her to every single event. I missed my nephew's graduation because I asked someone else to step up, and nobody did. I stopped going to family reunions. My brother once said to me, "What, you cannot give your mom a ride?" As if my exhaustion was completely unreasonable. Now I feel like I have to miss my own daughter's graduation, even if my son drives my mom to the venue. I know I will either get pulled into looking after her and not be able to enjoy the day, or I will look terrible for not helping and spend the whole time stressed. My daughter told me I'm making her choose between her mom and her grandmother. I told her I simply do not want to be there if my mom is going to be there. I have tried to get other family members, including my own kids, to take turns with her, but they are always too busy. Am I the asshole if I do not attend my daughter's graduation because I'm exhausted and want someone else to finally step up? Caregiver burnout is real, and it deserves to be taken seriously. The next one is about a name, a pregnancy, and a sister who made it a competition over who loved their mother the most. Am I the asshole for stealing my niece's future baby name? I am 32 and currently pregnant. My mom passed away almost 3 years ago. My fiancé and I came up with a name to honor my biological mother and his mother, and I was really excited about it. I told my sister, and she immediately told me I could not use our late mother's name for my baby, because her daughter, my niece who is 17, had already decided she wanted that name for her future daughter someday. My niece is not pregnant. She is 17. I made an announcement post sharing the names we had chosen for a boy and a girl. My sister and niece did not just express disagreement, they publicly bashed me, told outright lies, and messaged one of my friends. For some background, my biological mother did not raise me or any of her children due to serious mental health issues. She did what she felt was best for everyone. We reconnected when I was 14, and our relationship was sometimes complicated, but I loved her deeply. She did, however, raise my nieces when they were young. My sister and niece turned my baby name announcement into a contest over who my mother loved the most and who loved her the most in return. It broke my heart, and I had to delete the comments entirely. I am also high risk with this pregnancy, which they both know. The stress is genuinely dangerous for me right now. Would I be the asshole for using the name anyway, or would that be childish? Honoring someone you loved is never childish. The next story is about a school lunch policy, a birthday cake, and a mom who decided to make it a whole standoff. Am I the asshole for giving my daughter junk food, despite being told not to by her school? My daughter is 8, and her school started a healthy eating program. I actually love the idea of healthy eating, and I feed my daughter well at home, but I often include a small sweet treat in her packed lunch. After the Christmas break, the school told parents that unhealthy food was no longer allowed on school property at all. That meant no birthday cakes brought in for celebrations, and no sweets in packed lunches. I thought that was a bit extreme. At Easter, my daughter won the Easter bonnet competition. Every other year the winners received a chocolate bunny. This year she was given a sticker. A few weeks after the rule came into effect, it was my daughter's birthday. Since she was not allowed to share cake with her classmates, I decided to put a slice of her birthday cake in her packed lunch. The teacher saw her eating it and told her she was not allowed to have junk food at school. The teacher then spoke to me at pickup. I pointed out that since the rule had started, my daughter had eaten school lunches several times, and those meals included cookies, cakes for dessert, and burgers. The teacher said those were made to be as healthy as possible, and that the school could not verify what I sent from home. I said it was my decision what I feed my own child. The teacher said that if I send my child to their school, I have to follow the school's rules. After that, the teachers watched my daughter's lunch closely. She got in trouble for having crisps, and I was spoken to again. I gave her raisins one day, which are literally dried fruit, and was told there was too much sugar in raisins and not to include them anymore. She also got in trouble for having a Lunchable. At that point, I decided to push back because I felt the rules were too strict. I went back to giving her a small daily treat. The teachers kept complaining, and I said I did not care, because the rest of her lunch was healthy and she would be fine. They gave me a warning that my daughter would be punished if the rules kept being broken. The next day, I gave her a Lunchable and a sweet treat. They called me into the school and told me my daughter was being suspended for 2 days because she and I could not follow the school rules. My husband was furious. He had not known I was doing it on purpose, since he leaves for work early. He said it was not that serious, that I should just give her healthy food, and that I was being deliberately difficult, and now our daughter was in trouble because of it. I did not expect them to actually suspend her. Was I wrong to push back on this one? Sometimes the line between principle and stubbornness is very thin. The next one is much simpler: a phone call, a no, and a guilt trip that followed. Am I the asshole for telling my mom no when she asked me for money? My mom called me recently asking if I could send her some money to help with a few bills. This is not the first time she has asked, and in the past I have helped whenever I could, even when it stretched me thin. Right now, though, I am not in a great financial position. I have been trying to save, pay off some of my own expenses, and get a bit more stable overall. So when she asked this time, I told her I could not help right now. She did not take it well. She said I was being selfish and reminded me of everything she had done for me while I was growing up. Now I feel guilty because I know she is struggling, but at the same time, I feel like I cannot keep putting myself in a worse financial position every single time she asks. The situation between us is now uncomfortable, and I am wondering if I handled it the right way. Am I the asshole for telling my mom no? You cannot pour from an empty cup. The next story is about a family vacation, a cot, and a brother who volunteered his girlfriend to share a bed with his own sister without asking either of them. Am I the asshole for ruining the family vacation before it even starts? My family is really good at making me feel like I am being unreasonable, so I came to Reddit for a verdict. I am 31 and was going on a family vacation with my immediate family. What was originally a family trip has now turned into a couple's trip, plus me. My brother, who is also 31, is bringing his long-term boyfriend. My sister, who is 30, is bringing her brand new boyfriend. My mom is bringing her husband. I am now the seventh wheel. My mom and her husband are flying separately. My siblings and their partners are flying the day before, and we all need to stay in a hotel for one night. My brother sent out a message saying the cost would be $30 each. I replied saying it was not fair for the person sleeping on a cot to pay the same amount as the people getting real beds. He replied that he already knew I would say that, which is why he had arranged for me to share a bed with his boyfriend while he took the cot. He said he had asked his boyfriend, and his boyfriend was okay with sharing with me. He did not ask me. I told him I was not comfortable sharing a bed with any of their boyfriends, and that my point about the unfair pricing still stood. My mom took my brother's side and told me I was just looking for problems. Am I the asshole for refusing to share a bed with his boyfriend, or for refusing to pay the same price as everyone else when I would be sleeping on a cot? Basic consent is not looking for problems. The next one is about an outdoor vacation, a friend who invited herself, and a very firm no. Am I the asshole for refusing to let our friends join our vacation? We are a couple in our early 30s, and our daughter is 4. She is a great kid, and we have worked hard to raise her in a specific way: limited screen time on most days, a lot of time outdoors, reading, and hobbies. She has already done hikes and camping trips with us, which took real effort and intentional build-up. We made hiking a big deal in our household, and she genuinely does well on trips. She's still a kid, so there are tears and meltdowns, but she can participate meaningfully. This summer we decided to take an international trip to a destination known for outdoor activities. I mentioned the plans to a friend of mine who has a 6-year-old, and she immediately got excited. Then she immediately started talking about how great it would be if her family came along. I told her it was just a family trip for us, and that we already had most of the planning done and could not accommodate extra people. She said we could cancel our lodging and rebook together. I said no. She said it would not be a problem because they could just book their own accommodation separately. I firmly do not want to travel with her and her family. Her 6-year-old is not used to hiking or spending extended time outdoors. It would be a genuinely hard trip for him. My friend also tends to ask our group to adjust activities to something more child-friendly if she cannot find a babysitter. That is fine when it is something local, but I do not want to adjust an international trip we have planned and paid a lot for around a child who I already know will struggle with the activities we have chosen. Being honest with myself, her son also gets significantly more screen time and more leeway in general, including getting what he wants after tantrums, which makes parenting our daughter harder after they spend extended time together. I gently told my friend the trip was probably not going to be fun for her son. She said she was sure he would do great, and that we could adjust if needed. I told her I was not adjusting anything. It is our trip, it is a major expense, and my husband and I are doing what we planned. If she chose to go to the same destination at the same time, She was welcome to, but we would only meet up if it aligned exactly with what we had already planned. She's upset that I am turning down an opportunity to create great memories together. She has very fond memories of a childhood trip she took with family friends, and wants to give that same experience to her own son. Am I the asshole? Your vacation, your rules. The next one is about a relationship, a menu, and a question that might be the most honest thing anyone has asked on Reddit. Am I the asshole for not wanting my girlfriend to travel with me because she is a picky eater? My girlfriend says she cannot eat any vegetables, and honestly, eating in general is a serious challenge for her. We currently have an arrangement where I go out alone to eat at a restaurant once a month because I just need the ability to eat whatever I want without it becoming a whole situation. She cannot pick lettuce, tomato, or onion off a burger. It needs to be a plain patty with cheese only. She cannot eat street tacos, only tacos from one specific fast food chain. I have recently received opportunities to travel more, and I genuinely want to be able to eat without overthinking every single meal. Every day when I think about where to order food, it becomes a question of whether she can eat anything from that menu. I have found I cannot take her to most restaurants unless they have a children's menu, because a children's menu will always have something she can eat. I feel like a huge asshole, but I genuinely cannot do this anymore when it comes to traveling. I just want to be able to choose for myself without things turning into a meltdown. Am I the asshole? Food compatibility is a real relationship issue. The next one is short, but created a genuine debate: a birthday party, a 17-year-old, and a sister who could not understand the problem. Am I the asshole for saying no to inviting a 17-year-old friend to my sister's and my 22nd birthday celebration? My sister and I are both turning 22. We are having a disagreement because she wants to invite a friend who is 17 and still in high school, while the rest of our friend group is 21 and older, and all in college or beyond. I do not think it is appropriate to bring a 17-year-old to an outing where everyone else is 21 or older. My sister thinks the age difference does not matter since we are all girls. I am thinking about this from multiple angles. Our other friends who may not be comfortable around a 17-year-old in that setting, the 17-year-old herself being surrounded by people much older and not knowing anyone else there, and her parents whose daughter would be spending the night with a group of adults she does not know. I also believe in keeping friend groups separate. This girl would not know a single person in our friend group. My sister thinks I'm being completely unreasonable and refuses to see my point. Am I the asshole? Some boundaries exist for good reasons. The next one is about a group chat, a meetup, and a pumpkin patch that turned out not to be what anyone expected. Am I the asshole for not going to a meetup because there were going to be kids there? I recently joined a group chat for adults in my local area who were looking to make new friends. From the beginning, I assumed everyone was on a similar level of maturity, a little laid back, but generally put together. I was not free for any of their meetups until recently, so most of them already knew each other at least a little, but I had been chatting and contributing, and they all seemed like genuinely nice people. I finally had a free weekend to meet up for drinks at a local open-air concert and festival in the park. I was completely on board until one of them mentioned they would be coming with their entire pumpkin patch. I felt a bit awkward having to ask what that meant. It was their 2 dogs and 2 young kids. I canceled pretty much immediately. My reason was personal. I was once a kid dragged to festivals while my parents and their friends got drunk, and I always felt weird and uncomfortable. I did not want to be part of recreating that experience for another kid. I want to be clear, I was completely polite when I canceled. I said I had misunderstood the vibe of the event and left it at that. I did not mention the kids or anything about my plans for the night. For additional context, the parents had been talking openly about getting drunk. One mentioned bringing an entire bottle of vodka to share, and someone else suggested bringing a joint. The mom had suggested pre-gaming from 6 in the evening for an 8 at night start. These conversations happened after they confirmed the kids were coming. The festival was canceled anyway due to the weather, so none of it ended up happening. But since I canceled, my messages in the group chat go ignored. Whole conversations stop when I try to contribute, and I am starting to feel like I am being quietly pushed out. Am I the asshole for canceling, or for how I handled it? Your comfort at a social event matters. The next one is beautifully mundane. an egg, a pan, and a comment that had been building for months. Am I the asshole for making myself an egg sandwich for dinner? I feel like I am losing my mind a little bit. I am 19, and I walked into the kitchen while someone I live with, I will call her Elle, who is 53, was sitting at the table on her tablet. Elle had made herself a fried egg the night before for dinner, and left the pan out because she did not feel like washing it. She told me if I wanted to make something, I could use that pan. I did not make anything that night. Today I went to make myself a fried egg sandwich for dinner. As the pan was warming up, Elle said, "Eggs again, you know those have a lot of calories." For context, I have been trying to lose weight. I use a calorie counting app, and I try to stay active. I said there were not that many calories, and that I had already checked them in my app. She said, "Yes, but you are on a diet." This went back and forth for a bit before I finally snapped. Ever since I told her I was watching what I eat, she has been commenting unprompted on everything I put in my body. "Yes, Elle, I can see I have a full plate, but it is chicken and rice and vegetables." I told her I had asked her many times to stop commenting on what I was eating, and that what I eat should not be her concern. I should note there were still 5 eggs left in the carton after I took one. I have also offered many times to contribute groceries like milk and eggs, but she told me not to spend my money on the household, since I am a full-time student. She stared at me with a tight expression, and after a few seconds asked, "Do you know how to apologize?" I said yes. She kept staring. Then she said, "Okay, you know I can be rude too." I said I know. I spoke with a completely flat voice the entire time. I had also walked 10,000 steps that day, and had just finished an exam, so yes, I was hungry. Maybe I should not have said what I said. But she also should not have been commenting on my food for months. Am I the asshole for telling her to stop? Setting a boundary after months of silence is not being rude. And to close out today, a story about grief, a dog, and friends who made it so much worse. Am I the asshole for not being as present after my dog died? First, I want to thank everyone who has responded with kind messages and shared their own stories. To everyone who has lost a pet or a person, I am so sorry for your loss, and I am sending love your way. After reading through all of your comments and advice, I have decided to join some local groups to hopefully find people who are capable of showing empathy. I plan to slowly and quietly distance myself from the friends in this story without creating any drama. These friendships have made me feel like a burden and like I am wrong for having feelings. And that is not what friendship should feel like. I have a few long-distance friends who have been nothing but supportive, and I am going to nurture those relationships going forward. Now for the story. My 8-year-old dog passed away very unexpectedly in January. His spleen ruptured and I found him on the floor when I got home from work. I rushed him to the emergency vet, and they found that it was fast-spreading cancer. I had to make the decision to euthanize him that same day. He was my best friend. I got him the day I turned 18, and he went through every single move and major life event with me. Anyone who knew me knew that dog was my entire world. After he passed, I got depressed and withdrew. I went to work, came home and slept. That was my routine for a while. It has now been 4 months and I am still working through it. None of my friends really checked in on me, so I thought I must have done something to upset them. I sent them a message saying I just wanted to check in and apologize for being distant, that losing my dog had really affected me, and that I hoped they were doing well. One friend completely ignored it and left me on red. The other friend replied and said he understood what I was saying, but that isolating myself and not showing up to social events had been extremely hurtful, and that honestly, this was a bit beyond the standard grieving process and was kind of abnormal. He then asked how he could pray for me, sent me multiple Bible verses, and said God could fix this and that it was part of a plan. I believe in God, but it felt preachy and dismissive. My boyfriend of 1 year agreed with my friend and said he thought the friend meant well. I told the friend that his not checking in on me had also hurt, that I was sorry for isolating and would try to do better. He left me on red. Am I the asshole for grieving my dog the way I did? Grief does not have a timeline, and it does not require an apology. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, you already know what to do. Hit that like button, drop your verdict in the comments for every single story, and subscribe so you never miss a video. We post new Reddit stories every single day.